Okay, and we are now recording. If you could just state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is John Gallagher Jr.
So I saw the film the other night, and in hindsight, it was probably a bad idea because it's very scary, more scarier than I thought it would be.
Oh,
But it's
good.
also really good, very good.
That's great to
And
hear.
it's a horror film, but it's also got a lot to say about technology.
Mhm.
Now, my first question for you is, was that something that initially stood out to you? And if not, what really drew you to this project?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's hard to make modern horror films, especially supernatural ones or paranormal centered films, because we are plagued in a sense by this overabundance of technology and connectedness. So it's kind of hard to isolate yourself or feel alone in the world when we have all of this technology at our fingertips. So I thought that our writer director Jacob Chase did such a smart thing by not trying to find excuses for why the characters don't pick up a phone and and try to reach out to find their savior, because the phone itself is the problem. That there is this creature that is kind of dwelling within all of these information carrying devices that is kind of coming and trying to feed on their energy. So that really did stand out to me. I thought, wow, this is a really interesting way to skirt that issue for a modern horror movie, to make it be part of the villain in a way. And that was really cool. I had never read or seen anything quite like that.
Yes, it's something very noticeable, especially, I don't want to spoil anything, but during the third act, I think it's most noticeable. Yeah, it really takes you on this really interesting journey with all these really great characters, and it shows how technology kind of effortlessly isolates us
Mhm.
without us realizing it. And now I asked the question specifically because this isn't your first horror film. Obviously, you've done Hush, 10 Cloverfield Lane, most recently Underwater.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you really like the horror genre, I'm assuming, right?
I do. I had always wanted to do horror films and genre films. When I started out, I was doing a lot of theater and kind of drama and kind of small independent films. And it really was 10 Cloverfield Lane was the first genre movie I did, the kind of first horror centric film that came my way. And I just got, for whatever reason, right after I did that, like, three or four more fell into my lap, just timing, I guess. But it doesn't bother me, because I do really like the genre a lot. And, I think there's a lot of really exciting new, young, emerging filmmakers that are putting their stamp on it right now. Jacob Chase being no exception. He's the writer and director of Come Play. And I love it. I think that there's so many interesting ways that you can tell, you can kind of hide universal truths and very relatable stories within horror movies. And that's what I love about it, that they can be kind of fun rides and popcorn experiences, but if you're lucky, there's something happening under the surface that maybe you don't think about until after you leave the theater, or till the next day when you're thinking about the movie. So that's what I like about horror. You can kind of hide bigger pictures inside of them.
Yes, and that seems to be a very popular thing to do, especially nowadays with all these different horror films coming out. Now, in the film, you play a father of an autistic child, but you're not a father in real life, right?
No, I'm not. No. Yeah.
So how do you go about preparing for a role like that?
It's funny. My character in the film, one of the things that I really related to, I think, is that he is a family man, and he is a husband, he is a father, but it's all kind of coming apart around him. He's having trouble communicating with both his estranged wife and his young son, and I think is really plagued by this notion of not measuring up, of not being able to follow through on the contract that he signed with his family, and feeling like he's going to fail as a father, he's going to fail as a husband. And I'm not married and I don't have a child, but I relate to those fears. I really do. That the idea that these big roles that you kind of step into in life, the fear that you won't be able to follow through or measure up somehow, I think is so universal and relatable. And it struck me, it leapt off the page at me, and I thought, oh, this guy is really just before he even has to cope with a kind of demonic entity that's coming out of a phone trying to steal his son, he has these other big giant life problems to cope with. And I just thought that it was really human and relatable, and I felt his pain, when I was reading the script.
And we feel the pain of both of the parents. I think that really does come across so
Oh,
well
good.
in the
That's good to
film.
hear.
Yeah, like I said, it's a horror film, but it's got a lot that I think a lot of people will be able to not only empathize with, but definitely fear too. Now, also in the film, you work at a parking lot in a toll booth that at first seems kind of random, but it ends up becoming like a really important setting for some of the film's most pulse pounding sequences.
Yeah.
Did you guys really shoot in that cramped space though?
Yeah, we did. We filmed, we found this parking lot in Toronto where we shot the film. And I think that they built a spec specific booth on the lot so that we could shoot in and around it. And we were in there. It was a tight, cramped space, a little claustrophobic. Thankfully, there were windows on all sides of it, so I never felt totally entombed. But we had a couple night shoots where we were actually, we didn't opt for the soundstage approach. We did actually film it outside at night. And so we did a couple night shoots where, you start filming around 7, 8 p.m. when the sun goes down, and you shoot until about 6 o'clock, right as the sun's about to come up, which I love. I mean, they do some strange things to your circadian rhythms when you're trying to fall asleep at 10 a.m. But I do like night shoots because everything else kind of you can put the rest of your life on hold and really just commit to filming that scene. And it was fun. My memories of making the movie are mostly those nights we're filming those toll booth scenes, because they were some of the most exciting moments in the script to me. So it was fun to make them happen in real life.
And you're talking about how being away from like the city life and just electricity. That's exactly what the film's trying to tell people to do. So I think that's very interesting that you say that
Yeah.
specifically. Now, this one is might strike you as a little random, but I figured you're in a lot of horror films, so I have you here. I want to ask you, what's one thing that really terrifies you?
What really terrifies me? This is such a kind of generic answer, but the unknown. I definitely I've suffered random bouts of anxiety most of my life, as I think a lot of us have. And at times, the scariest thing about it is that you can't quite say what it is. You can't quite put your finger on it and say, I'm anxious about this thing or that thing or this particular outcome. That it's just a kind of generalized feeling of uncertainty. That kind of thing. That always freaks me out. Just that kind of creepy crawly feeling that you can't quite give a name to.
No, but if you think about it, that's kind of exactly what our main character Oliver really struggles with. He always has this anxiety. He doesn't know how to express it. So it's
So,
not that far-fetched after all.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's slightly generic, but yeah, I think it's just when you get struck with those random bouts of kind of, whether it's a social anxiety or kind of a panic attack, whatever it is, it's just such a jarring and scary thing.
Thank you for your time, John. It was
Of
a
course,
pleasure
man.
talking
Yeah,
to you.
my pleasure. Nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.